What if Groundhog's Day was a sci-fi action movie?
Then I feel like we'd be right on the edge of tomorrow.
We would. Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Metacast podcast. That's the podcast that explores itself, explores ourselves, and explores the self in general. My name is Ty. I am one of your co-hosts.
And I'm your other co-host, Distance. If you kill me, I'll reset the day, so don't do it.
And tonight is the Metacast movie show about Edge of Tomorrow. Edge of Tomorrow is a 2014 sci-fi action movie directed by Doug Liman.
The screenplay is by Christopher McQuarrie, Jez Butterworth, and John Henry Butterworth. It's based on the manga called All You Need Is Kill by Hiroshi Sakurazaka.
The film stars Tom Cruise, Emily Blunt, Bill Paxton, and Brendan Gleeson.
The budget was $178 million with a box office take of $370.5 million. Tomato meter rating is 91% with an audience score of 90%.
On a future Earth that has mostly been destroyed by the invasion of an alien race known as the Mimics, Major William Cage must become an unlikely hero and use tools at his disposal to save the world.
Gotta love those world-saving movies.
I mean, it definitely is like a big stakes movie. Which normally a lot of times I think are kind of cheesy. It does have the Michael Bay kind of explosions and theatrics to it. But with that being said, I did really enjoy this one. I thought there was the right amount of comedy. There were some good laughs in it. The action was good. I thought a lot of the pacing was really well done. Both the leads I thought were gave really great performances to this. Tom Cruise I don't really like as a person, but I very often find that I like him in roles, and I thought in this he was great. He started out as this like very kind of unlikable character that you ended up getting to know over the course of the movie. So I really enjoyed it. I thought this movie was cool when I saw it. What was it, six years ago, almost 7 years ago at this point, basically. And still, I hadn't seen it in years until rewatching it this week. But did really enjoy rewatching it. So to give this one a verdict, should you watch it? I have to say yes. I think it's fun. I think it's enjoyable, and I think most people would probably agree and enjoy their time watching this. How about you?
So this one I hadn't previously seen at all. I'd actually I feel like I'd heard of it, but didn't really even know who was in it. I was expecting something very different, but what I got was much better than I anticipated. And for me, like with actors, like I don't even really care who they are, like as people. It doesn't matter to me, because if I thought that, I wouldn't watch any Christian Bale movie ever. It just doesn't matter to me, really. So but I think of Tom Cruise as being a true professional in movie making. I think he's someone that's done it for a long time. I think he's someone that other filmmakers go to like look over scripts and get advice from. He's someone who, paired with him and his agents, I'm sure, always seem to pick out reasonably good scripts, or at least fun movies to do, I would think. So yeah, this one, I really do feel like it had just the right amount of everything. Had the right amount of cool like graphical stuff, like with the way that the mimics look in the movie. It had some good humor. There was some like kind of touching sort of stuff in there. There was some pretty good acting, I think, pretty much all around. I think everybody nailed their roles really well. And this one was like, it was surprisingly not just another cheap sci-fi action film. And for this one, you can tell, because I remember you told me that this was based on the manga before. Mm-hmm. And this is a kind of concept that I think only the Japanese creative culture could create, because they always come up with some of the most interesting ideas for like manga, anime, any you hear told
Yeah.
by modern Japanese people always have this level of creativity that you just don't really see much of in other cultures. So for this one, I mean, yeah, I'm gonna have to give this a yes. I would say, especially if you don't like Tom Cruise, you should watch this because it's a movie where the character himself wins you over, and I think it's kind of cool.
Like you said, you had not really, I mean, you had heard of this movie, I guess, in passing, but didn't really didn't know much about it. So what did you go into it expecting? You said that it exceeded your expectations, but I want to know what you were expecting.
I was just expecting something like, I don't know, like Elysium, mainly because of the little exosuits.
Okay.
I thought maybe it was like going to be a Pacific Rim type thing.
So did you watch like a trailer or something, or like? Okay,
I went in completely fresh. I had no knowledge of anything in the film whatsoever. I wasn't even certain what it was about.
That's cool.
So I didn't really. I had a feeling there was some time travel stuff going on, but when he killed the dude and then he kind of died and he woke up in the same place, I was like, oh shit. It's Alien Groundhog Day.
Yeah,
more or less what you said.
Yeah, I do. I love the gimmicky, I mean, for lack of a better term, Groundhog Day premise, where it is like, you know, it's almost kind of magic because it's like the day resets. So what does that mean? It goes back to when he wakes up, which is like, I like how they don't try to really flesh out the concept with too much science because it ends up like more magic than science in my opinion. But I think it works. It's this cool like, oh, these aliens work this way. He just resets the day. Yeah, sure, accept that and go on with it. But
yeah, I mean, time travel movies are always like, anybody, like if I have a conversation about one of them and it's people trying to make sense of it, I'm just like, just stop, just don't even like. It's just be entertained. Stop trying to figure it out.
And like if the movie tries to take itself too seriously and explain its concept of time travel in it, like a lot of times that can become kind of cumbersome. So I liked in this movie that it was just kind of lightweight, like, okay, he got blood on him, it's in his blood, and then we know, okay, if he gets injured but not killed and gets a blood transfusion, he loses the power. So there is like some level of danger to it because effectively, you know, he is kind of almost godlike for a while, where if he just dies, he gets to restart. And, you know, that's, you know, his however many lives of training we go through in the middle of the movie that, you know, turns him into the warrior that he becomes.
Yeah, it's interesting because one of the thoughts I sort of had with watching the movie was that it almost becomes like dying in a video game.
Yes.
Because you kind of know what's going to happen, and so you can just sort of keep going and then stop at whatever point until you figure out how to play it the right way. But I mean, the first bullet point I put in my notes was he's already unlikable.
Oh yeah, from the very beginning. Yeah, it is funny. It's funny you had the video game note because I also had that too. That just really reminded me of playing through Halo on Legendary, where I would go like, because you know, against the AI, they're always in the same spot, spawning at the same spot, and you can kind of memorize like running a certain path and knowing like, okay, I'm gonna have to turn left and shoot him, and then turn right and shoot him, and then you die, and you're like, all right, well next time I'll try this, like. Yeah, so this movie did feel very, very video game-like, which I was surprised there was never a video game for this movie. I think it would have been really cool to play through that concept.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think it would have been cool. I mean, maybe a little tedious, but it still would have been like a cool thing to do, especially with the kind of graphics in the game, the way that the enemies are. It would make for a very interesting play. And there's I like the whole idea of the kind of don't get your hands dirty, like, you know, manipulate your way out of having to fight anything, you know, do your kind of PR thing that you do, so then you never have to really be in danger. And then he meets these like pretty hardcore, like roughneck type, you know, grunts who they necessarily give each other crap about anything that even slightly resembles any kind of weakness, mainly because they have to.
Yeah.
They even make them morbid jokes like, there's something wrong with your suit, man. There's a dead guy in it.
Yeah.
Hardy har. I did think it was funny that the one character just liked to be in his suit wearing nothing but a jockstrap.
Yeah, was it Kimmel?
Weird,
that was pretty well done. Yeah, so like the first life, where we first meet Cage and everything before he dies the first time. Like there was a lot of cool setup that I thought was interesting, and oh fuck, there's that non-word. But I liked that, excuse me, the frustration levels that I felt in the beginning were great, because no one's listening to Cage and he's trying to explain himself rationally, and like he's just kind of stuck in this situation that's like starting with the general over in London, and then continuing on to what is it, oh my god, what is his name, Master Sergeant Farrell, Bill Paxton's character. Yeah. Which had one of my favorite lines, definitely not favorite line, but the when he starts talking to me, he's like, "Oh, you're American." He goes, "No, sir, I'm from Kentucky." the first time I cracked up at the movie, I was like, "Okay, I know I'm in for a little bit of a little more fun than I'm expecting."
Which I would typically expect somebody to say that about Texas, not necessarily Kentucky.
Yeah. But it did make me wonder, though, with the frustration, the one problem I had at the beginning was I didn't understand the other character's motivations enough for being so shitty to him. Like, I understand that, sure, he's he's a PR agent rather than a soldier, but it's like, it seems like I don't understand, like, he got railroaded to be killed, and it's like, did he really do something that, like, I wish I understood why people hated him as much as they did in the beginning, I guess.
Well, I think that some of it has to do with the general's personality too. You can see like kind of how he is later in the film when they spend more time with him, and he talks about how the guy's kind of stubborn. But I mean, for me, I would, because it's just that to begin with, his interaction at the beginning of the film is very like self-preservation, and he like really embodies like the weak male character kind of archetype for a movie. Like the guy in Titanic, he's always the example that I give. That's
the antagonist one.
Yeah, he gets on the boat with the little girl, lies to them, and says that that's his daughter.
Yeah,
like the whole like women and children thing that was pretty common, and he sort of, that's usually the shining example I give when I say that, like, it's there's people out here like dying and all that stuff. And it's also the fact that he so sort of blatantly, belligerently, and brazenly threatens him with, well, who do you think they'll believe? And he's like, well, essentially, I have a feeling that I don't know what the general guy did, in his career, but I'm assuming he's probably seen combat, or else he wouldn't have been that upset about Cage being kind of, well, the coward that he was. But the plot must go on. So
yeah.
In order for us to have a plot, he did have to be in the situation.
Exactly. Yeah. But it's interesting for me. It's like, I don't know. I did not understand the general's motivation at all, and it would have, the whole intro would have at least made more sense to me if it was like, for some reason, Cage had fucked someone over specifically, or that general even, that like somehow made more sense. But it's fine that it did. And it was just, for me, it was kind of a sticking point in the beginning. It was like, I didn't understand why he was being so unfairly treated. Yeah.
Yeah, and I do like the thing that I like about the beginning of the film is that you don't really know what the mimics look like. They just call them the enemy for quite a while. And it's not until the first fight that you actually get to see like, oh, wow, this is crazy. Yeah. And once again, creativity. Like, I'm assuming they look pretty close to what they look like in the manga. And because I didn't really look up anything about it.
I wonder, yeah.
But that I'm assuming that they look at least similar, if not exactly the same. That's just more creativity for like what they look like. And you're not really sure, like, once again, they don't flush it out where they come from, what are they. They're just kind of there. And you don't really get to understand like why. And there's even like I love the part where he decides like, you know what, fuck it.
They look nothing like that in the manga. Really? Holy shit. Yeah, they look a lot more like the Omega.
Oh,
At least unless well, yeah, in this picture there's quite a few, and they're all just kind of like black balls with teeth. And yeah, in a few of these frames, they seem to, yeah, the mimics seem to be just kind of like, I think that they're able to, like, in the manga, I guess they have tentacles that come off the ball, but their body, yeah, they don't seem to be the shape they were in the film, which I thought was really well done. I loved the design of them in the movie. I thought that was really cool.
These remind me of the Langoliers.
I was gonna say that. Yeah, I thought that was like way too obscure of a reference, and that no one would know what the Langoliers were. Holy shit! I'm so glad you've seen that.
Made for TV movie from the 90s. If you don't know what that is,
yeah, they're weird in the manga though. But,
this is completely different. Like everything about this is way different. But
yeah.
I just have a feeling that these creatures wouldn't have translated very well to the screen.
Exactly.
They had to give some more, like something a little more theatrical, no pun intended, to I guess make things look more intense or scarier. I mean, even the suits look different, but once again, it's translate into screen.
Yeah.
Those suits in the manga would have hidden it would have made it more difficult for the actors to do their job.
Yeah. I get what yeah.
Yeah. And like I really wondered what they were and where they came from, and it's kind of cool that they never tell you.
Yeah, I like that. It's like you hear that a comet or meteor impacted, right? And that was kind of where they came from, but it's like it is kind of cool to theorize that it's like, I guess these comets or meteors possibly just have like an omega in the core of them, and whenever they impact a planet, they can just kind of seed and start what they do there. But yeah, I loved the design of the mimics, both in appearance and then later when you meet what is it, Dr. I forget the dude's name. But the one that teaches about the omega and everything, but like their design in the way they work too is really cool. Just the whole resetting the day, the fact that it's almost reminds me of like the flood from Halo, where it's basically one organism that if you kill the central mind, it's like everything kind of dies.
There was one scene that I thought was really funny when he's trying to like give the powers back to Rita. He's like, I mean, have you tried all the options?
Oh, sex. Yes, I've tried that. He's like, but how many times? Yeah. She's like, okay.
They do make a point to kind of, the audience Rita's character becomes more endearing as the film goes on too.
Yeah.
It's a nice touch.
Yeah, and I don't know, before I get off topic, I do want to, like, still on Life 1, right at the end of him dying, it cracked me up. So as we were talking about, this game feels very video game like to me, and watching it a lot of moments reminded me of playing video games, and especially like Cage's call outs were about as good as mine when he's like in the little trench with his team, and the mimic kind of appears in the sand. All he says is, hey, it's like it's like my call outs. Like, you've gamed with me, it's like there's no like mimic behind you, like check me, like anything. It's just hey, like that sounds right.
Yeah. Or you'll be like, they're in the throughway. Like, what? The hole between the two things. Like, okay, literally nobody calls it that.
Yeah, no one.
What are you talking about?
Hey. Yep.
Yeah, there's it is pretty funny because I mean, he clearly doesn't know what the hell he's doing, and he really is just sent like to his death. But I think that everybody just perceives him, like, especially in like J Squad and the rest of the battalion, whatever they call it. Mm-hmm. They all like seem to perceive him as like just some like soft-handed, like, rich boy kind of, like,
mm-hmm. Yeah.
If you walked a mile in my shoes. There is one thing that when he decides to sort of take the day off and ride a motorcycle into London.
Yeah. I'm one of the mini lives.
Yeah. And he is in a pub, and there's those old people.
Yes.
Like, oh, what are they here for anyway? Like, it's the minerals. They want our minerals. Like, nope.
No, it's the oxygen. Yeah.
And it actually reminded me of how every conversation about current events goes. it was like exactly the same. Like the world is ending and people are still having conversations like this. And then they're saying things like, "Oh, well, you know, my grandfather was in D-Day and or on Normandy, you know, and
Yeah.
if his generation had been involved, this would be over by now." And it's just like just really like ridiculous things that people say like without any understanding for the present. And I really, really, really hope I'm not like that when I'm old. But the thing is I'm pretty sure I just will be.
Yeah, I don't think the human mind can help it. Like at a certain point of aging, you're just not able to mentally adapt as quickly as you do when you're younger. So it's like you just at a point stop adapting as fast, and you get stuck in like some mental state that you were in whatever year you hit that age. But
there is something interesting about how when they're on the way to that sort of farmhouse area, and he has the conversation with her about some more like I guess personal things that she's told him over the many times that he's lived through this.
Did you catch that he was lying to her though?
What about the middle name thing?
Well,
which part?
Like, so before that,
oh no, I didn't catch that.
Before that, they're talking, and he makes it seem like that's the first time they've ever been that far, because they're looking at the field of cars, and she's like, well, what do you do now? And he's like, all right, well, we check the only 2 cars we've ever checked. You know, you go and you check the Jeep. So he's acting like they've never been that far, and then he's like, oh, last time we were this far, you told me about your brother when you did it. So it's like you start to question like, how many times have they been there before she starts to realize then a few minutes later with the whole like where are the keys that how many times has she been there. But yeah, I thought that was kind of cool that like I didn't notice it the first time watching the movie though, but it was like subtly you kind of put together that he's like doesn't have any plans of trying to really get that far past that. But
well, there's an interesting thing that in that moment she talks about how she's seen Hendrix die 300 times.
Yep.
And then he tells her how many times she's died, like at this helicopter thing, I guess.
Yeah, yep.
That I think you sort of realize that they have some common ground.
Yeah.
And it would be interesting to me to have that many memories of somebody else, but for them not to have any of them.
There's this really cool movie called Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but I feel like you would love it. The concept in it, I feel like you would be really into it, man.
I hate that movie so much. It's the worst thing Jim Carrey's ever done.
Dark Crimes. I can't wait to do Dark Crimes just so you can stop saying that. You would have to switch to it's the second worst thing Jim Carrey's ever done.
Well, I really do believe that Dark Crimes is going to be the worst thing. I mean, for how much you've said, it's funny. Like when you trust people's opinions about something being good, and then there's a point in time where someone with an opinion you trust tells you something's horrible, and so you trust their opinion of something being shitty as opposed to their opinion of something being good. It's just funny how that works. You value people's positive and negative opinions.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not looking forward to that at all, but it's all good. And like, I love how, that helicopter is like covered in a tarp, like an old Buick or something in these people's backyard. Like, who does that?
I don't know any like hobby pilots, but I would assume there's some small helicopters in people's backyards like that are, but I don't know if it would be under a tarp though. Yeah, it's like you would probably have some sort of building, right?
I mean, anywhere where you're gonna find that would just be the British countryside. Like if there's a place you're gonna find that, it seems like it would be there.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Or were they in the British countryside? I don't even know what they were attacking.
Yeah, but at that point I don't. Yeah, it was because it was like the entire European front, basically, right? Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it was close enough that, you know, they were trying to fly to either Germany or France from there. So it's somewhere in that Europe area.
How do you feel about right after the time with the helicopter where she starts it anyway and then dies? How do you feel about the time right after that where he just goes without her?
I loved it. I thought that was like a really feel good realization moment to me when watching the movie. I liked it. How about you?
It was like, for me, it was kind of interesting because there's a lot of movies where they take this character that's a complete sissy and then turn them into a badass, and it's like the only thing that the audience wants is that. And there's an entire, being that this is based on a Japanese graphic novel series, I guess it would be appropriate to say there is an anime called Tokyo Ghoul, where for many episodes in the first season, the main character Ken Kaneki is a complete sissy, and you just wonder, like, when the hell are you going to like come of age? When are you going to move into what you are now? When are you going to accept things as they are? When are you going to just fucking do something, bro? And then there's actually something awful that happens to the character in the series, and after that happens, it somehow awakens the monster in him. And I think that there's something that happens where anybody that is comfortable with violence, but they use it in a way that defends weaker people from strong, wicked people that want to hurt them, is that I think all of those people are in touch with like this kind of monster that they have inside. But they're not to the point where the monster takes over and they do awful things to people. And I think that when you see Cage see Rita die so many times and all the shit that's happened to him and all the killing he's done, even though these are aliens, he's still killing.
Yeah.
That I think that he becomes really in touch with his monster. And that's when that whole thing, because doesn't he look the dude like dead in the eyes? And he's like, "Do you want a helmet?" It's like, "It's distracting."
Yeah. I'd never wear one.
Did you see Hot Fuzz?
Are you drunk?
Yeah. I love that the first he says, "Are you drunk?"
It's like, I need three more magazines of 5.56, 8 grenades, and an extra battery. Get it. It's like, oh, okay. But yeah, it's like it was kind of cool in that scene because, like, I mean, in that life, you know, that would have been the same time that literally they met that dude however many minutes or however many hours before that. I guess it was, you know, the day before. So anywhere up to like 12, 15 hours before or whatever. Treated him completely differently. So many other lives based on how he carried himself. But then like that guy's respect for him in that moment when he asked for the equipment that way and had that kind of air of authority to him, he was like, okay, yeah, sure, I'll get it for you. Like you could tell you knew what he was doing.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, what else can you say, right? I mean, when someone asks for something like that, you almost like, they're so self-assured that you almost feel like you have to be sure of them.
I do think it's funny they're still firing 5.56 though.
Yeah, I feel like if there would be, I'm sure there would be debates on YouTube about what the best alien killing, you know, caliber is. I do find it strange, but I mean, I don't know. It's a common military round, I guess. I don't know. For people that don't know anything about ammo, it just sounds scary. 5.56.
It is, but it's also like on the chart, it has a heavy crossover with the varmint category because it is still around the 22 caliber as far as like diameter goes. So like those are some big varmint. I would consider the mimics to be beyond the varmint size. So I guess we don't know. Again, they didn't tell us how much about the invasion, what we really knew beforehand. So, but I would have expected the military to develop something for that fight. But if we kind of got blindsided out of nowhere, we could have only had equipment that was basically meant to fight, you know, other humans in warfare, and then had to repurpose that. So I guess that does make sense.
And that is something really strange for people that have come up like in the military, like in learning how to fight other people. I can't imagine how much of a fish out of water feeling it is to fight something that's unimaginably far from human. That you know, it's like, what are you really supposed to do?
Most of the soldiers we saw in the movie were kind of just like fresh recruits they were throwing at them because they needed literally like, okay, everyone of fighting age, you're like, you know, I don't know if they didn't really say there was a draft, right? But it was like, it seemed like basically the sentiment was, you know, everyone, if you were not, you know, injured or too old, you were either fighting or you were, you know, basically a deserter.
Yeah, and apparently they had a serious disdain for deserters there. Oof.
Which, I
When
mean,
they label Cage as one.
yeah. I mean, that would kind of be like if there was like an actual global threat like that, like wouldn't it kind of be the sentiment among most people that if you saw like, a fighting age person going away from the fight, is like, dude, like we may literally lose humanity. What are you doing? Like help us. Like, yeah.
Yeah, I think in that situation, I feel like more people would be willing when it's sort of a high stakes. Do you ever do a thing when you're watching a movie where it seems like a resolution's about to happen, and you actually check to see how much time is left in the movie?
Yeah. I've
like,
tried not to. I used to do that a lot, but yes, I've realized anytime I pause it, I accidentally look at how much time is left, and that gives me some sort of idea. So I've tried like as much as I can to not pause it, or if I have to like somehow obscure that so I can't see the bottom bar. But
this was a time where I felt the urge to do so, and I was like, nope, don't do it.
Which time was it?
It was when he the part where he leaves Rita and he gets to like the place he's actually at the dam where the Omega is supposed to be.
I was wondering.
I had a temptation right then. Like I was like, ooh, okay, don't do it. But there is something. Okay. So in that scene, when he tries to shoot himself and reset time, does the Alpha like slap the gun out of his hand and he ends up shooting himself in the arm?
Yes.
So is the Omega doing it because it knows that he'll gain an advantage if he dies?
Yes. Yeah, I think the plan was to lure him there by making him have those visions and thinking the Omega was there, and trap him there with the Alpha and not kill him, but keep him there long enough so that fight could then be lost by the humans. And then it doesn't matter.
Yeah. That and it seemed kind of obvious to me that they were gonna fake him out somehow.
Mm-hmm.
So I was sort of confused about like what exactly they were trying to do, but it okay. I mean, it makes sense now because I thought there was something like where they couldn't kill him because somehow like if they, I don't know, I didn't know what I was thinking in that scene. I was sort of confused. But I do like that this is something that you see a lot in a lot of like hero stories, like in the movie The Crow, or the comic also. The Crow that gives him all of his powers dies, and he doesn't have his powers anymore. Now he has to fight without them.
Yep.
Superman, Kryptonite, like that happens, and he has to, in any of several sorts of scenarios that are played out in movies and TV shows. And
Batman Begins, right? Doesn't he like have to kind of build up from nothing where he loses loses technology and everything, and breaks his back and all, that was in Dark Knight Rises.
And everybody likes the redemption thing. Everybody likes to see, someone like, build. And the cool thing is that there's this, it's a necessary thing for the plot because you need to create tension.
Yep.
And anyway, so in addition to being part of the hero narrative, you also have to give some uncertainty, like, now he can't do the thing. What happens if he can't do the thing?
Yeah.
But one thing that I don't understand any part of what happens at the end at all.
At the end, okay.
Like the very end. So he blows up the Omega, and then the stuff comes up, and then all of a sudden he starts the day over again.
Yeah, but it's different somehow.
So it's like, okay, so does this mean that the clock got reset, but now the enemy has no way to reset time?
Yes, that's what I took from it. Is yes, that final death. Whether it had to have been the Omega dying that reset the day, because he no longer had that power. So yes, that makes sense. If the Omega is giving them the power to reset the day, and which then also is giving them the power to see what the enemy is doing then by living it already, Once the Omega dies, all of the enemies are still there, but without that power. So the day resets with the Omega no longer being there. So they're just they have their, you know, their normal combat tactics, and that's it. They don't get to like re-experience the day.
So the humans haven't actually won the war, but it's essentially a fair fight, so to speak, now.
Yes, but the way they were characterizing it at the end, once it was a fair fight, we were just slaughtering them. They even called it like almost a victory march. It was like literally, I mean, think of how easily our artillery was tearing through the mimics when Cage knew what he was doing.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, so it's like if they didn't have that power, it seems like we outgunned them like crazy. It was like the only thing that made it remotely like they gave them a chance at all was that power of resetting the day.
Yeah, because it's, and you know, once again, it's one of those things like where like I wouldn't even try to make sense of it, like the time travel stuff. Like I wouldn't even try to figure out what happened, other than because there's no trying to make like actual like logical sense of it is just a waste of time. But
yeah, other than it being part of the resolution,
the plot of the film, what was happening.
Exactly. Yeah, it's part of the resolution of the film. So it's like, so yeah, how do you make sense? Speaking of how it ends though, how do you feel about that? The last line and the old Tom Cruise smile he gives the camera with her asking what do you want, and his answer just being that kind of chuckle.
Yeah, I kind of, I don't know. I kind of liked it. I like that it adds a little bit of like humor to the situation. It adds kind of a lightheartedness to the end of a movie that was, I mean, kind of heavy in a lot of places. I mean, there's plenty of humor, but there was a lot of stuff that was just super heavy in there. Like, you know, watching Rita die as many times as she did actually wasn't really fun for the audience either, I don't think. Even though the deaths aren't like terrible. And also, I mean, she gets torn to shreds in the climax. Of the film.
Oh yeah.
Like that shit was gruesome.
There were a few deaths that were pretty. I mean, even the two dudes kind of making their last stand at that flammable truck, and like them, you know, like that's another death. It's like, you know, like running out of ammo and just knowing like, all right, time to pull the pins on the grenades, and like looked over at his buddy and it's like, all right, that's all we got. But
yeah, and I liked it, and I think that you have to, you know, you gotta have Tom Cruise do his trademark thing. It's like Samuel L. Jackson saying motherfucker, or like hasta la vista, I'll be back. Like you have to kind of do it. Like,
yeah,
you know, it's kind of a thing. Like you can't really, you know, you gotta have him do the thing because everybody knows the thing.
Well, it made me think about it earlier. I think it was in the first time when you talked about about the movie having like basically the right amount of everything. God, I got the hiccups. I feel like it had like the right amount of a love story, where it was like, it was there, it wasn't overpowering at all. For someone who doesn't normally like when love stories show up in like action films or stuff like that, and kind of like, I feel like a lot of times it throws off the pacing. In this movie, I didn't feel that. Like there was enough of it there that it gave you an emotional attachment to the characters, and the fact that the plot almost did rely on them. There had to be some reason that he cared about her. You know, or it was just she was just a means to like learn how to use that power and then kill the Omega, and then there's no like risk in her just dying. So I like that it was thrown in there and it wasn't too much. And I did love like at the end then, like when she asked like what do you want, it's like, well, yeah, how, like you talked about with him having however many hundreds of lives worth of memories of her, and then this is like her first time meeting him, and she asked, what do you want? It's like, how do you answer that? So I did love that his answer was just kind of like a chuckle. It's like, yeah, fuck, what do I say?
Yeah, that it because I think that I don't think the audience understands how to answer it either. But you know, if you ever hear like you know, mental health people like psychologists or like counselors, when they talk about relationships, they say there's three things here. There's you, there's the other person, then there's the relationship, which is this kind of thing that exists between the two of you.
Yeah.
I think that this is the same for an audience with a story like that. that there is the two characters and then there is the relationship. There's a thing that the audience perceives between the two of them that isn't necessarily either of them. And I agree with you that I think that they did do it just the right way, that there's some tension there. There's some affection. I like when because Tom Cruise has the Tom Cruise freak out thing that he does in movies.
What's the Tom Cruise freak out?
He has a very specific type of a type of intense behavior that he does when he's acting, when he's upset with somebody or freaking out. He shows a little bit of it in Jerry Maguire when he like leaves the office.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yep.
But he does this. He's done it in Mission Impossible also, at least a couple of the movies.
That's where I'm picturing it from. Yeah.
Yeah, when they're the first time that we see them do the helicopter thing, and he's freaking out about how she's gonna die, and that it's like if you go, then that's it. Like I don't remember exactly what he says, but I thought that's another trademark kind of Tom Cruise thing. He always plays those scenes a certain way. I mean, Al Pacino has a trademark Al Pacino freak out too. Yeah, like he has a very specific way that he plays those when he has to do them in a movie.
Oh yeah, that one I can definitely picture very, very easily. Yeah.
Yeah, everybody knows what the Al Pacino freak out is. I mean, he's probably one of the most successful over actors in the business.
Jim Carrey would like to have a word with you, sir.
Oh, well. Did you ever see the bloopers in Liar Liar where there's two characters calling each other names? Yeah. That's pretty good. We've talked about Jim Carrey twice.
He deserves it, man.
Yeah. I didn't really think about that though. But now that you mention it, there really was just the right amount of that.
Yeah, because it could have been too much very easily, and I feel like that could have really ruined the movie for me, and I'm glad it didn't.
Yeah, I like the fact that I think it's cool that in the climax where right before he kills the Omega, that she's about to fucking die and she knows it.
Yeah,
and she's just like, well, I guess I'll just kiss the handsome gentleman, and then just does the thing and then runs off and then dies. I'm sitting there thinking to myself, like if it was my last moment on Earth,
you would kiss Tom Cruise too, right?
Tom Cruise.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if I would. And it's funny that you say the Tom Cruise grin, because there's another well-known actor that has a grin, and people don't talk about it often enough.
Who?
Dwayne Johnson.
Oh, he definitely. Yeah, dude's got dimples too. Dude's got he's got a dimply grin.
Got his own dimple grinny thing that he does, and it used to be the eyebrow thing when he was doing the wrestling stuff.
Yeah,
but now that he's in his acting career, he has a grin too, and no one ever talks about it. But it's there, and it's like his thing. But no one talks about it ever. It
is definitely. Well, I can tell that you have a special place in your heart for Dwayne Johnson's grin, and I respect that. It is a great grin.
Yeah, and I mean, I like The Rock's grin too. It looks just like his. It's weird.
I think I've read that they're brothers, actually.
Are they? Oh.
Yes. Yeah, that's why they look so similar. So there is one really exciting thing I've learned about this movie. Which I guess it's kind of strange to talk about something exciting about a movie from 2014. But there is apparently as recent as I think 3 weeks ago was the most recent thing I saw. A sequel is apparently in the works.
A sequel to this? I'm pissed. I'm angry.
I'm interested. So Emily Blunt has said she's read the sequel, read the script and said she thinks the script is great. Tom Cruise is, I don't know if he's writing or directing it maybe. He's somehow heavily involved. He's not just acting in it. I think he may be directing it or just possibly executive producer or something. But I would be interested in seeing where they go with it, because there is a definite end to the story, but the concept is cool enough that there's a lot of other places they could go that I don't feel like it would be too I don't feel like it would necessarily feel like beating the a dead horse right out of the gate. So I think that it could be a well done sequel if done properly. And like you were talking about with Tom Cruise being a professional, he very rarely does sequels beyond, he did the Mission Impossible franchise and stuff like that, but you don't see him on very many sequels. He's kind of a pickier actor. He does kind of, like you were saying, I mean, his team, says yes to more often than not the quality stuff. So to hear that he's heavily involved and wants to make a sequel, does make me feel better than it just, hearing that like, oh, Edge of Tomorrow 2 is coming out starring these two straight to DVD actors. Like,
Casper Van Dien.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, thank you.
I think that Tom Cruise knows his shit, and I think that he's been in the business long enough that he's someone that's credible. But could you imagine how miserable it would be being in a movie with Tom Cruise that he acts and directs in?
I'm not. Yeah.
So if he actually is directing it, I can't imagine that would be fun for everybody involved. I'm sure the film will be great. I'm sure watching it will be nice. But
I wonder. Hold on. Is there release date, plot, cast? Okay, hold on. Is there anything actually like planned for this?
There was no sequel to the manga series, and to me, it's like, okay, Ocean's 11 came out starring the Rat Pack. They make a remake to Ocean's 11, and then they make a sequel to a remake that there was never a sequel to, Ocean's 12, and then Ocean's 13. And I was just kind of like, really? I don't know. When I hear about sequels to movies that I thought were really good, sequels almost always fuck things up.
Yes, but I would argue that's because the vast majority of sequels are low quality money grabs, like I talked about. You'll very often see like, think The Mask 2, like, I didn't even have Jim Carrey in it, or stuff like that. So I definitely agree with you. However, I think that when that's what made me excited about that, was seeing that it's a sequel that I feel like has the chance of having better quality because of who's involved, and like seeing even like there's a screenshot here of like Doug Liman's Instagram, where he's got, I can't tell who he's with there, but it's like a bunch of whiteboards just full of them working on the plot, and it's like Cage and Rita's lines. So it's like, it doesn't seem like it's just like, oh, this movie did well, let's make more money on it. It's like he has a passion for the content or for the IP and wants to do more in that universe, which I think that's cooler than like, if this movie just came out in 2015, the year afterwards, and was obviously like, oh, the first one made a lot of money, let's do a sequel.
Well, there is a film that Tom Cruise is currently working on that he apparently like lost his shit on one of the staff members.
Huh.
You didn't hear about that?
I did not. No. Like in production right now, or?
Yeah. They have like standards on the set that they're required to adhere to. That I don't know exactly what the context is, but they have standards like for like, health and safety stuff that they're essentially being forced to do, like by like regulatory means. And I'm sure they'd probably do it anyway. But the thing is I think that they're actually having people come out and like audit them, or maybe even people like lurking around in secret to make sure that they're following like the guidelines.
Yeah.
And one of the staff members like wasn't doing something they were supposed to be doing for like the health and safety guidelines they were supposed to follow, and he lost his shit completely. But in the context of it, I think that he's actually probably had a discussion with this person several times already.
Yeah, probably.
He even freaks out about how like he freaks out about how he says that their industry is not doing well. It's more or less dying. There's lots of people that don't have jobs right now that can't work.
Yeah.
And he's trying everything he can to like, help the people like in the film, like have a job, pay for their lives, for their kids to go to school or whatever. And he's just saying like, look, I won't let them shut us down.
Yeah.
Is essentially what he's saying. And a lot of people like gave him shit about it, and he doesn't have the best reputation in the public outside of film. So I think a lot of people were not quite so nice to him about it. But I mean, whatever. It was something that's going to get your movie shut down, and a bunch of people are going to lose jobs. Be upset about it.
Exactly. Like I think it's very understandable that like the point he was bringing up, there are a lot of people out of work, a lot of people that are looking for jobs. When you have someone working a job that is so complacent, they're not willing to adhere to everything that should be part of that job, then it's like, dude, there's how many people out there that would rather be doing your job right now? It's like, if you don't want to be doing that, if you're not willing to do everything, then step aside and let someone else do it. But
Mission Impossible 7.
Was it in 7? Okay. Yeah, that's what I was reading for the delays with Edge of Tomorrow 2. It did mention Mission Impossible 7 and even an 8 dealing with like being some of the reasons for delays. So apparently this movie, like, I don't even know if it's ever actually going to come out, but
dude, he's riding my old motorcycle.
That's cool.
not my actual bike.
Yeah, I was supposed to use sold your bike to Tom Cruise. That's pretty sweet.
And that would be really awesome, actually. It's a different version than mine was, but that's cool. He really likes motorcycles. I think he really likes featuring them in films. He likes to ride them.
Yeah.
There's a scene in the movie Night and Day where, have you noticed that,
I liked that movie.
Ever since... Do what?
I liked that movie, Night and Day, with Cameron Diaz. Yeah, I thought that was funny.
Yeah, actually, I own it. I love the film. I love like what a fucking lunatic he is. But on the subject of that, have you noticed how well he plays Nutso?
Yeah, yes.
Like, I mean, he did.
Yeah, I think he has to reach real far down in to find the inspiration for that one. Yeah.
Well, after the thing that he did on Oprah where he freaked out, like I think he just sort of leaned into it.
Yeah.
Like, you know what? Fuck it. People think I'm nuts. And in Night and Day, like they keep trying to sell you on him maybe being a lunatic, but not exactly, or maybe not. And he does the lunatic thing really well in this movie where he's talking a little crazy fast. He's freaked out because he's living the same day over again. Everyone thinks he's fucking out of his mind.
Yeah.
And I think he plays that really, really well in this movie too.
Are you talking about like Life 3, where he goes for like the madman approach of like predicting what everything is going to happen and trying to tell everyone like, look, you're like, this is how I know all of this, and then he just ends up with like duct taped his mouth shut.
Yeah, that shit was hilarious too. And he's like, what's he saying? And then yeah, he does that really well. And
yeah, it's great.
But there was a motorcycle scene in this because he took I think that was a Triumph actually, a Triumph in London. Whatever. British motorcycles in England, I guess it makes sense. But it's like he just has to have a motorcycle in each of his movies. But it's cool. I like bikes.
It is the perfect image for that though. That he was like. It may be like an American thing, but there is some sort of like freedom associated with riding on a motorcycle that like the image of him, you know, AWOL running away from the base, going into town would not have been the same in a car. Like that on a motorcycle is just like somehow it has that image of like running away more than doing it in a car or a van or anything else would. But yeah, and I think it's pretty cross-cultural. I mean, there's a lot of cultures where people just view motorcycles as transportation, but I think that in a lot of places in Europe, it's thought of as being like a cool thing. That you just, you know, you have the wind in your hair and whatever. And of course, if I see someone with the wind in their hair, I'm like, careful, you're going to end up with a head injury. It's all about the wind in your hair and the vibrate on your balls.
Hey, that's what Harleys are made for.
Oh yeah,
that's the reason why Harleys exist. But yeah, that it does work. It does work well for that scene, I think. Yeah, that he's trying to like just sort of unwind after you living, I don't know, 30, 40, 50, hundreds of days in a row.
Yeah, I like that they like. I try to keep track. Like in my notes, it started with like Life 1, Life 2, Life 3, Life 4, and then it got to Lives 5 through N is one section because that was like where it started to go rapid pace and he started to like really learn and train and everything. But and that, yeah,
actually,
go ahead.
Because when you said Life 3, I was like, what is he talking about? You actually made a note of each of the lives
in the beginning. Yeah, I was like, I wanted to know what was going. Like, I mean, like I said, the first, second, third, and fourth were pretty distinct, and then 5 through a large number were just like rapid fire. Then like the bulk of the movie. Yeah, but
there was something humorous about the death montage, though.
Yeah. No.
He's like, shit, or like, crap. Like, it's not like a normal reaction to dying.
Do you remember, was there a moment that kind of like made you laugh the hardest? Do you remember your hardest laugh in this movie?
I think it was the have you tried everything part.
Okay. That one was good.
How many times? I laughed pretty hard at that one, but there was
him rolling out of the truck is what cracked me up the hardest. The first time
that shit was hilarious because they look at it, he's like, oh
yeah, Bill Paxton turning around and making that face, just oh my god, yeah, I lost it. I rewound that 3 times just to crack up at it.
That was pretty funny because you don't expect it exactly, and like the way they play it is just kind of like everything about it, and Bill Paxton playing that character, which that character was priceless. Was it Farrell? Was that his name?
Which that would definitely be the biggest loss from a sequel, is not having him in it again. That would really suck.
Yeah, I would like to have him in it.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I mean, you wouldn't want them to like digitize him, right? But
hell no.
Yeah, so they would have to be without him, but
it would be nice if he signed on for a sequel. And it's funny that
Bill Paxton's dead, right?
Do what?
Bill Paxton died in 2017. That's why I was saying that.
Wait, Bill Paxton actually died?
Yeah, he died in 2017. Yeah.
Are you serious?
100%. Yeah. I don't. Let me see. What did he die from? Oh shit, that's right. In early 2017, Paxton stated in an interview with Mark Maron that he had a damaged heart valve, and then he underwent open heart surgery to repair it on February 14th, and 11 days later, at age 61, he died of a stroke. Yep.
Bro, I didn't know Bill Paxton was dead, man.
Yes,
that's Twister. I liked him in Titanic. I hated him in Aliens. Dude, what else was he in?
Yeah, he was a good one.
He's been in all kinds of shit. Dude, I didn't know that.
The Terminator? Yep. But yeah, so that's what I was meaning by that, is like, it sucks that like if they do finish the sequel, it'll unfortunately be without him, and it would suck to not have, both him and the character he played in the universe. But
I kind of didn't know exactly what you were saying when you said something about digitizing him. I was like, what? Don't they only do that for dead people? Like, well, yeah.
Yeah, they do. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm really sad about that. I really liked him, man.
Yeah,
he did some good work.
Oh yeah. Yep. Yeah, sorry to be a downer there. No, so whoops.
Yeah. Hey, it happens, man. Shit happens. You're just narrating the reality of the stuff.
Exactly. Yeah.
But the thing I was saying about like how I kind of got angry about a sequel.
Yeah.
Is that it's funny because you hear me bitch all the time about writers not telling me a story. Like I almost don't like it when they leave things up to my imagination.
Yeah.
Because I'm paying them to tell a story. But for this one, I thought it was kind of nice to leave it open-ended. And I almost don't want to know what happens next.
Well, and all of the parts that matter for the main plot of the movie are tied up. Like, you don't know what happens next in Cage and Rita's relationship, but like, do you really give a fuck as the viewer of this movie? You know what happened with the main plot. And then it's like, okay, so maybe maybe he's able to convince her to go out on a date and they end up, liking each other and falling in love, or maybe he doesn't. But it's like, I'm fine not knowing. And if that was the focus of the sequel, I would be very disappointed.
Well, that also ruins the just enough love story balance you were talking about.
Exactly. Imagine if the sequel was literally just a romantic comedy between the two. Like neither of them gain the powers back again. All the mimics are gone. And it's just like a futuristic romantic comedy where Tom Cruise and Emily Blunt get to know each other. But he knows everything about her and she doesn't know anything about him. So he has to like set that premise has been done before, right? Where like someone has to like play the. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's futuristic. It goes from futuristic Groundhog Day to futuristic 51st Dates.
We should do like a fan fiction short.
Actually, Bill Murray did that in Groundhog Day. Didn't he? Like with his female reporter, like he spent like a bunch of lives, like, getting to know her and being like the perfect date or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, that oh my God, what's her name? She was in
I forget her name.
No. Is her last name Hollowell?
McDowell. Annie McDowell.
There you go. Yeah.
Oh my God. Dude, her name is Rita. Her name is Rita. The female lead in Groundhog Day is Rita.
Oh shit.
Did they? There's no way they did that on purpose, right?
I'm sure the character's name isn't Rita in the manga that this is based on. I'm willing to bet you so much they did that shit on purpose. That's fucking hilarious.
That is really, really funny if they did that. I'm trying to see if the characters in the manga. No, they care. Even in the manga, it's Rita Verchowski.
Maybe he did it on purpose.
When was this written?
Is there like a Japanese version of a weeb, like a Japanese person that's obsessed with American culture? Bill Murray's kind of an icon in American culture.
That is really interesting. That's like just enough of a coincidence that I could believe that it had nothing to do with each other, or I could also believe that was like a really, really, if that was done on purpose, that is a great nod to Groundhog Day. Like just subtle enough that, yeah.
That's a very clever one. If that really was, I'm very impressed by that one. Bro, I just can't believe Bill Paxton died, man. That's crazy. Fucking Bill Paxton, man. No more good work.
No, but he lives on through his work, which I think that is like the coolest thing with like, I mean, actors, any kind of content creator in general is like, I mean, that happened with Reckful. When he died, that it was like, it was cool that his Twitch stream for it actually may still be doing it, but it like for a long time was just, you know, rerunning VODs of his. And it was cool that it was like the dude died, but you could actually still every day log on and see a full like 7-8 hour stream that felt like, you know, he's not going to respond to your message in chat, but he was like, it's cool. It's cool when people are able to live on through their work. And I think that like that's one of the coolest things about media and why I like doing this podcast is like it's a powerful thing that humans have developed that we use in I mean good and bad ways.
Well, I say we dedicate this episode to the memory of Bill Paxton.
Hell yeah.
May your memory live on, brother, except for aliens.
Is there anything else that you want to touch on in your notes before we get to favorite line?
No. I feel like I need to add a bullet point at the end of my notes. It says Bill Paxton is dead, ? I'm really stuck on that, man.
You sounded so sad when you said no, but I think it's just because it's Bill. It's old Paxton. Well, my favorite line was actually a Bill Paxton line. I didn't, you know, pick it because we were going to
I think we have the same line this week.
Oh man, I hope so. I hope so.
I'm positive we do.
It probably is. It's so my line. I picked this because I need something to say when we are counting down for raids in Escape from Tarkov, and now I know exactly what to say. Battle is the great redeemer, the fiery crucible in which the only true heroes are forged. The one place where all men truly share the same rank, regardless of what kind of parasitic scum they were going in. Did you actually pick the same one?
Yeah, except I actually put the whole line in there.
You know what we should do? The beginning part or the end part? You added more to the beginning, right? Yeah.
Yeah. You know what we should do? Even though like I have more than you, we should actually do that like on YouTube. People in the comments below should say who did the line better.
Oh God. Okay. Yeah. You're gonna win though.
I might not. Who knows? Like I was trying to figure out his accent before this, and I was like, I can't fucking remember. All right. I feel like I really gotta knock this one out of the park now. Maybe you should do it again because there wasn't a contest when you did it.
It's all good. I gave it my all.
Good news is there's hope for you, Private. Hope in the form of glorious combat. Battle is the great redeemer, the fiery crucible in which the only true heroes are forged, the one place where all men truly share the same rank, regardless of what parasitic scum they were going in.
Yeah, you killed it. Your Sergeant Major Farrell accent is a way better than mine. Good job, soldier. So do you have suggestion or not suggestions, but choices for me for next week?
Yeah, so I was lazy and I didn't add a third one, even though I usually have 3.
That's fine. It could be any number. You could give me a choice of one week. I don't care. It's not a good choice, but it's, you know, I wouldn't complain.
Okay, I got it. Here we go. I do have a third one.
Okay. Oh, check this out. My new keyboard came in today, and now I don't have to like mute my mic when I need to like type a little bit. It's not super loud.
You don't sound like a tip tapper on the tip taps, like the customer service, whatever that you call into all the time.
Exactly.
Okay. All right, here we go. Hold on.
I'm holding. I'm pretty anxious.
I
The
think
fact
I
that you
might be
just threw
wrong
on a third choice kind of makes me excited.
I think I might actually be wrong about one of these hints, but that's okay.
Interesting.
All right. Okay. So would you like to do a movie that we've sort of made fun of, a movie with a good actor that everyone loves to make fun of, or a bad movie that everyone thinks is a great movie?
Oh man. A bad movie that everyone thinks is a great.
I can read them again if you want.
No, I'm trying to break down what I think they are. I want the I want the one we've kind of made fun of.
Okay. That's Platoon.
Okay, I'm down with that. Did we kind of make fun of Platoon?
We did Tropic Thunder.
Oh, I get what you're saying there. Okay.
Tropic Thunder is making fun of Platoon.
That is very true. Okay.
That was clever, right? Did you like it?
I did like it. I see. My mind was going somewhere completely different. I was thinking that there was a movie that we had like sort of in passing made fun of specifically, but not by like I didn't think about the you are right though. That literally by doing an episode on Tropic Thunder, we have really made fun of Platoon. You are 100% correct.
And I thought that was kind of like subtle enough that you probably wouldn't know exactly what I was talking about when I said it.
I had no clue. You had me guessing the entire time. I love it though. Yeah, so next week's Platoon. Let me slot that onto the schedule and get on with this outro. What year is Platoon? It
was like
1986. Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, hold on. Well, that's interesting because it says the release date was 87, but I'm confused. I'll have to learn more over the next week getting ready for it, because normally the year in parentheses next to it is the year of release. But this says that it was released in February 6th of 1987, so I'm not exactly sure.
And I've actually never seen this movie ever, so.
Oh, okay. No, apparently the opening weekend was December 21st of 1986. I don't know what. Oh, release refers to, like, I guess at this point it would have been VHS, right? But like, I think that release might actually be the hard copy release. Oh. Versus like opening weekend is like when it's actually in the box office. But gotcha. All right. Well, anyways, guys, this is going to bring us to the end of another episode of the Metacast Movie Show. If you're watching this on YouTube and you've enjoyed the discussion, please hit the like button, subscribe to keep up to date, and comment below and tell us how you felt about Edge of Tomorrow. And if you want to even further keep up to date or join us as a guest on a future episode, you can always join our Discord. The link is in the description right down below. And keep in mind, we'll be live next week on Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern on twitch.tv/TylerTV talking about Platoon. So thanks everyone for listening, and I hope you all have a great week.